welcome back to day 17 of Junk Journal July 2025. Today's prompt was either sunrise or sunset. I decided to do a sunrise, and I thought this sort of collaged light blue page would be fun. I have this picture of a lighthouse, and I'm not going to use the picture in my page, but it's a little bit of my inspiration for this page. So I'm going to continue with that sort of collaged paper thing that the original book creator began and create my own little landscape, I guess, on the page. I've said this in other videos, but I really like the idea of reusing pages from the book that I'm journaling in to create my new pages. So this one had a really interesting pattern, and I don't know, it seemed like it would be a good pattern for the side of a lighthouse. I definitely didn't need the brownish color, at least not initially. I ended up deciding to use that to make the very top part of the lighthouse where the light actually is. To keep with the feel of the original page, I didn't really want my collage together pieces to be super perfect. I wanted them to be a little bit irregular and handmade looking, which is why I was so quick to cut things out. You can see I'm just kind of eyeballing how I want that top part to be, and then giving the bottom edge of it a similar curve to the lighthouse, just to try and create a little bit of an illusion of shape. How is your Junk Journal July going? I hope well. I'm curious if there are any prompts that you've run into so far that you think are particularly challenging to either decide what to do or even to execute. So far, I haven't had a whole lot of difficulty deciding on an idea, but there are definitely some prompts later on that I'm still not sure what I'm going to do. Then I decided to go ahead and create the white stripes that were on the original lighthouse. And again, just kind of eyeballing the curve and the width that I wanted the stripes. And then you can see as I put them down, I realized that I really didn't need 3 white stripes, because then too much of the red was hidden. One of the things that I've heard people say about month-long challenges like Junk Journal July is that there is a lot of pressure to create every single day and to make perfect pages. And one of the ways that I combat that and still get through pages pretty quickly is to have a little bit of a plan of what I think I might do going into it, and then really not to stress myself out about details like the stripes. I had originally thought there should be more. It didn't look right, so I just said, you know what? We'll just do that. And then here I decided the lighthouse was too chunky and I wanted it to have a skinnier look like the one in my inspiration picture, so I just trimmed off the edges a little bit. And I was happy with that decision. But I think when you're doing a bigger challenge like this, that you do have to decide ahead of time that you're not going to spend an inordinate amount of time on details that don't really matter too much. Now, one thing I did try a little bit differently here was I waited a lot longer than I normally do to start gluing some things down. Usually when I know that I'm going to use something, I tend to glue it down. But since I hadn't decided what I wanted to put around the lighthouse, I decided not to glue anything down. Now here I'm taking this label, and I thought it was really cute to use for a sun, but when I looked at it with the other papers, I decided the yellow wasn't bright enough, but a little bit of colored pencil around the edge did the trick. It also gave it a little bit more of a handmade feel, which I really liked. And then, of course, after I looked at the sun, I thought it needed a little bit more, since it is in my journal and here, July and very hot. So I added some red to the sun and then decided, you know what, I'm going to do the same thing with my lighthouse. I love using this technique of pencil over top of something that's pre-printed because you can deepen the color a little bit, make it pop a little bit more, but yet still see the detail underneath, which I think adds both an interesting texture and also a much more handmade feel. Now, these sun rays are another great example of having a general idea of what it is that I wanted to do without a specific plan in mind. So I grabbed some papers that I thought would be good colors to use for the sun, and I started with the ones that I liked the best and just started cutting off strips and placing them around the outside of the sun. What I realized as I was doing this was that I really liked the mix and match look that I was getting, but that I had under anticipated how many rays I was actually going to need. So you'll see after I finish using some of the thinner pieces that I'd already cut, I had to go to a larger sheet to cut out a few more strips to add them to the page. And then I also realized that I wanted something else that had the really bright yellow of the one stripe that's kind of directly over top of the lighthouse. I didn't have any more of that paper, but I did have this, which was very similar, and I was able to add another piece of that super bright yellow. You may also notice that the rays of the sun are hanging off the page right now. I like to get things like this glued into place and then trim off the parts that are overhanging. That way I can easily get them to line up directly with the end of the page. I think it looks a little bit neater, a little bit cleaner, and it's honestly so much easier for my brain than trying to cut it to length and then glue it down. And you can see I'm not going all the way to the end on some of those because I know that I'm going to be cutting them off, and I really don't want to be getting a lot of glue on my scissors. Once I got it glued down, I realized I needed to adjust a few. Really wanted the rays to go through the spirals so that they could continue all the way to the actual edge of the paper. All right. So I had pulled aside some bits and bobs and also a stash of stamps and this stamp sticker book that I had because I thought maybe I could do something over to the side to add a little bit more visual interest. And I really wanted to use this starfish to pull some more yellow into the page, but I had a little bit of trouble deciding where to put it. Then I thought, oh, maybe another bit of yellow, so that I like to do things in threes. So I was trying to find something that would be thematically related but would also look good. I thought this yellow bird might look nice, but then I decided he wasn't really the right kind of bird to be found at the seashore, and for some reason that detail really bugged me. And in the end, I decided the blue octopus made the most sense because it brought some of the blue from the background into the foreground. And with those decisions made, I really just had a little bit of gluing and trimming to take care of. Oh, and the top of the lighthouse. I thought it would be kind of fun to create some waves, so I used the white pen to do that. You can't really see it on the video, but it definitely shows up on the actual page. Now, after I did all of that careful figuring out about what I wanted to tuck behind that lighthouse, I went ahead and glued the thing down before I tucked that sticker in behind it. And of course, I not only glued down the top of the lighthouse, but then I went through and trimmed off all of the rays, giving the glue on the lighthouse body even more time to dry. Oops, sorry, my head there. Then I did need to go back and get some of those edges glued again. And then, yikes, I realized what I did. And I couldn't peel it up, and I didn't want to ruin it. So I got just the edge of it peeled up, just enough that I could tuck the end underneath, and then decided that was gonna have to do. I did leave a little bit of that starfish hanging off, and I am very, very okay with that. And my hair again. My lighthouse needed a light. I found this fun little daisy and decided to cut that out. And it's reminded me of a light shining. That ended up filling the inside of the lighthouse pretty nicely. I did decide to add a little bit of white to the brown top, just to give it a little bit more dimension. And to do a little bit of mark making around the stamp and also on the sun, again, just to make it pop. To make the stripes pop a little bit, so I went around the edges with black pen just to give them a little bit more emphasis. I inadvertently inadvertently drew on the little white stripes, so I grabbed a piece of the same paper and cut out just a little bit to cover over my mistake. If you look closely, you can see it, but it's a lot less obvious than the black line. Then I decided to add some windows to the lighthouse. Again, just to give it a teeny bit more definition and dimension, and then went back in and added a little bit of blue inside of the windows. Again, to bring in some of the blue from the background and also to let it just pop a little bit more. Highlighting the outside edge a little bit. The only thing left is to add my label for the challenge, so that I remember the day and also the prompt. I've been doing this on each of the pages for this particular challenge. The choice was sunrise or sunset. I only included sunrise in my label since that's the one that I ended up deciding to use for my particular spread. I hope that you enjoyed this page as much as I did, and that you keep creating. Make a great day.